Hi, I'm Claudia Zelazny, Director of Lifestyle Programming at Legacy Performance Center in Dallas. And I'm talking with Brandon Pollard, who is one of the founders of the Texas Honeybee Guild. He presented information tonight for a group of our clients about being the bridge for truth in agriculture. You talked about the rapport between a beekeeper and the hive. Talk a little bit about that, because are you impacting them or are they impacting you?
Well, I guess as a purist, I'd like to think that I'm impacting the bees as little as possible. I like to think I'm a facilitator, and certainly as a beekeeper, and the more you work with bees, the more you realize that that they're keeping you and you're not keeping them. So being that the case, bees have been around a whole lot longer than we have, and to think that we know something more than they do is I think we're overstepping our boundaries. But having said that, as humans, we're also introducing a lot of problems that the bees haven't in real time evolved with. And so as a beekeeper that is also a human, that is someone that in the human race introducing a lot of these issues and problems that the bees have, I think it's also our responsibility to figure out how we can fix those problems, or how we can mitigate whatever issues the bees are having to deal with as a result of our misqualifications of the original blueprint. So yeah, as a beekeeper, I mean, when you go into a beehive, it is the inner sanctuary. It is the quietude. It's the quietness. It's the zen, if you will, of it's that place that there's just a moment where everything stops. That's when you're in the beehive.
So how has being a beekeeper changed you?
Well, when I'm in the beehive, it slows me down, which in this day and age is always a challenge, to get to that place where you can actually slow down and breathe. And for me, when I'm actually in the beehive, that is the most peaceful, most wonderful time you can ever imagine. It's those times in between bee yards, or in between those periods when I'm not in the beehive, that is more of a challenge for me.
Talk about some of the properties of honey.
Well, honey is...
it's an age-old health medicinal compound.
Yeah,
in many ways.
Certainly, as long as the bees have been around, that's where honey came from, and we just kind of discovered it on accident, and just realized how sweet, and it was man's first sweetener, and certainly probably arguably man's first medicine as well. I mean, the properties that it has and its healing properties with topical, with wounds on the skin. The enzymatic activity that it has in it, as long as it's processed properly and it's not heated terribly where those enzymes are compromised. It's a natural preservative. So for me, that tells you right there, I mean, it's the only food substance known to man that does not go bad.
Right.
And to me, I mean, it's hard to kind of wrap around that, because especially when you're like in the health, you want to get it. You pick it out of the ground and you eat it right away. That's just when it's the best and the freshest and the most wonderful, most nutritious. But with honey, they found it in the pyramids. I mean, all honey will crystallize, where it goes from a liquid substance to a crystallized, more solid substance. All honey does that naturally. But it really is kind of hard to consider the fact that honey was just as good as it was the day that it was put inside of the beehive and processed. Thousands and thousands of years after, is just as good. So it's an amazing and very dynamic substance that I think is very underrated.
What is the biggest threat, you think, to not just the honeybee, but for those of us who want clean, good food that we can depend upon?
Well,
what are we facing?
I just think an uninformed group of folks that just kind of blindly go about putting things into their body unknowingly. I think for me, I mean, I always think about Michael Pollan saying, vote with your fork. And to me, and that's why we are in advocacy and in education, because we want to educate the public about some of these things, about some of the misqualifications that we have in agriculture, and that people go to the supermarket, but their connection with that food is so great, and the gap is so great, that there's so many things that can be misqualified from the time that it gets out of the ground to the actually time that you're putting it on your table. So for me, the biggest challenge is just an uninformed public, and an irresponsible public. Irresponsible beekeeping. We've met the enemy, and it is us. So it's our responsibility and our job as educators just to get out there on our soapbox bee-box and just get the word out and just let people know that we have some major challenges, but with the power of the honeybee, I think we can fix it.
Brandon and Susan will travel anywhere to educate and talk to groups. They speak in schools. You do the summer reading program for the city of Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
So you will have some information at the end of the clip about how to get in touch with Brandon and the Texas Honeybee Guild. So anything you want to tell the people that we haven't talked about?
Well, just like I'd mentioned before, it's just very important to stay connected with what you're putting into your body. And for me, I have the wonderful opportunity to work with these incredible angels of agriculture and actually have something at the end of the day that I can put out there and continue to make my living doing what I do, and having that facilitated with these just fascinating invertebrates.
You're a lucky man.
I am.
Thanks for being here tonight.
Thanks for having me.